I haven't been hearing my bell, but I guess we're on.
It's live.
Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of TV is Our Real Mom. I'm Dave.
I'm Katie.
And today's episode, we are going to discuss Survivor Kaoh Rong, episode 6, titled Play or Go Home. Where does that title come from, Katie?
I don't remember. It's very
I
cliche. I'm
don't
not
either.
sure.
I have no idea where that came
I
from,
want
but
I want to say Nick, but I don't even know where that's coming from. I feel like it
yeah.
was really early in the episode,
Let's
and
just
Nick
say
said it.
Nick said that.
Okay.
So, speaking of Nick, why don't we kick off the podcast and talk a little bit about Nick and Debbie?
Okay.
What are your
What
thoughts
about
on
him?
What are your thoughts on Nick and Debbie?
I thought that Nick did a very good job of explaining how to keep Debbie happy. I mean, he understands the importance of keeping her happy, and I thought, he was observant enough to know that was an important thing, whether or not he intends on working with her. I also thought that little thing at the beginning with Nick and Debbie was hilarious. I don't
Oh
even
God,
remember what exactly they said, but it
this
made me laugh
entire
quite a bit.
this entire episode was hilarious to me. I found a few lines that I thought were pretty hilarious
Okay,
throughout
well,
the
you'll have to
episode.
refresh my memory with those. But yeah, that whole thing was top notch. Anything with Debbie. And then Nick, I mean, he's not a character that's viewed positively by most people, but he's still a character. So if you put two characters like that together, I think, you're going to get a lot of good stuff. And I feel like that's what this season has, a lot of good individuals, are interesting, dynamic individuals. And so it's really fun to see them interact with each other. And Nick and
Yes,
Debbie's another unexpected pairing that I would like to see more of.
yes, totally agree. Yeah, Nick. Everyone seems to be kind of against Nick. It seems like the general consensus is Nick kind of sucks, but
Yeah.
he may be saying some like seemingly harsh things, but I feel like he's also saying there's some like truth and some insight into what he's saying. And it kind of makes me feel like Nick he's no slouch. He kind of knows what's going on.
Are you talking about his conversation with Michelle more specifically?
No, both. I am talking about the entire episode and definitely the conversation with Michelle. I feel the same way, but with Debbie too. Like you were saying, the things he's saying about Debbie are insightful about the way she is, and I think
Hmm.
they're accurate. I think he's got a good read on her. Actually, I don't know.
Yeah.
It may
No,
sound
he's
like
got a spot. He
yeah,
has a spot on read on Debbie,
yeah.
definitely.
It may come off like arrogant douche thinks he knows everything about everybody, but I think it's an accurate read on Debbie personally. But
No, it is. And um I don't think anyone had an issue with the Debbie Nick thing. It was entertaining more than anything. I think where people's issues with Nick came in this episode were the way he talked to Michelle. But I don't know if you want to get into that now or later or whatever. But
we'll get to it.
okay.
Yeah, I just thought
I think Nick's fine. I think Nick's playing an interesting game. I wouldn't mind seeing more of it or what his like overall plan is. But I'm a little worried that he's just getting the douche edit and that we won't get to see. I mean, there's not a lot of time to see the subtleties in people's games, especially if they get voted off,
mhm.
sixth or seventh or eighth or that kind of thing. So
Yeah, they're not going to focus on that sort of thing if he's going to get voted off in a couple votes from now.
no, it's easier just to paint him as a douche and say he was a douche, so he got voted off, which is
Yeah.
not untrue. But I think there's
It's
more to it than that.
yeah, it's just the easier story to tell for sure.
Yes.
But yeah, at this interaction with Debbie and Nick, Debbie brings up yet another job that she's had. Apparently, she's been modeling for years, and I love how the production, whenever she brings up a new job, they're still keeping it going. They put up the little things as part-time model under under her name.
Yeah, that's classic. I need to pay more attention to that during the actual show because I didn't even notice it during the
Oh my
show. I only
god,
noticed it after.
cracked me up, man. Loved it. That
Brilliant.
was that was the first funny part of the show. There's more. Yes. So yeah, let's move on to the reward challenge. I think this was the first reward challenge of the season that was just a reward. Or was
No,
that one the one where Caleb went
no.
out? Yeah, that's
That
right.
was a pretty memorable reward challenge.
Yeah, right. It
Someone
was.
almost died for salt and pepper,
And he still thinks it's an immunity challenge to this day, but
as far as we know. Yeah. Poor Caleb.
yeah, he'll be back.
Yeah, he will.
So yeah,
I feel like. Sorry, go
go,
ahead.
uh, I was just going to talk about the reward challenge, but it sounded like you had something more interesting to say.
No, I was just gonna go off on now that it's been a couple weeks since the Caleb dust has settled, and we can look at things more reasonably. I feel like he's gonna be one of those guys who comes back and like completely tarnishes his Survivor legacy.
Yeah,
Don't you?
I could see it happening. I mean, based on his past reputation with Big Brother,
Mhm.
but it almost seems like he is sort of a changed man because his whole bad reputation came about because of his infatuation with that one girl or whatever. So now that he's settling down, I mean, he was already engaged before he went out there, right? Or it was his girlfriend.
No.
It was his
Yeah.
serious girlfriend when he went
Yeah.
out there,
Hmm.
and maybe that was already starting to take, you know, take. Is that what
Hmm.
I'm? Didn't he
Yeah.
say? Does she have daughters? Is that what he said?
She has a daughter.
She has a daughter. Yeah. So like he spends a lot of time with a serious, committed relationship and her daughter. I mean, that
Mm.
could definitely have a big impact on how he behaves, and I think that might be why he came off so much better this season.
It could be.
If that continues to be the case for him, I don't see how he would screw things up coming back again.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I don't know
I'll allow it.
unless you can point out what you could see happening with him.
We can save that for when he inevitably comes back because he will.
Yeah, well, don't you want to make a prediction like,
I mean, he'll probably just be what he would have been this time, which would have been a loyal number,
Mhm.
but nothing, breathtaking.
I see what you mean. So
Yeah.
no sweet strategic gameplay, just kind of good at floating in there for a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that would be his
Same
game.
as he did on Big Brother, right?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Indeed.
So the reward challenge was kind of interesting because they had a challenge where you shot baskets, essentially, where you're shooting buoys into a basket, and that happens to be what Scott did for a living for a very long time. So
Yes, but to be fair, I don't think he was a shooter. I mean, whether you're a shooter or not, when you're in the NBA, you should be able to make baskets.
all
But
you
I'm
do
just
is shoot
saying,
baskets.
he was not, when he played, he was not Steph Curry. He was like,
Yeah.
the big man
Yeah,
making
yeah.
room.
He was a
That. But
big as
anyway,
they say.
I kind of knew, or I kind of sensed before the challenge. I mean, if you were Scott, wouldn't you just feel so much pressure? Like, oh, if I lose this, I'm never gonna hear the end of it, and I have to win, or it's just gonna,
Yeah,
you know,
I think you could sense that he was feeling that pressure, but
yeah,
being a former NBA player, it's nothing he's not used to, and
true.
it sort of worked out for him because I mean, he knows what to do in that situation where you're feeling the pressure and you still got to perform anyways. He knows what to do. I was impressed with Nick though. I was very impressed with
Yeah,
Nick.
you can shoot a basketball or a buoy.
Yeah, you can shoot a buoy pretty well, I'd say. Gave
Would
Scott a run for his money.
He did. I was worried. I mean, I wanted that team to win anyway, just because they lost the immunity, and poor Julia was probably like dying from hunger. So I felt like it would have been really shitty had they not won. So I'm glad they won for
Yeah,
multiple reasons.
right. Um, yeah, after the challenge was over, I thought it was kind of interesting that little moment they showed between Scott and Nick. It was like they almost kind of purposefully highlighted it, where Scott says, hey, good job, Nick. And Nick's like, oh, yeah, like the kind
I
of,
don't remember that.
yeah, as they were leaving the challenge, Scott, like gave him like a "you're a good competitor" kind of thing, and Nick's
Ooh,
like, yeah, and but the show kind of highlighted it. There was like close ups on him and stuff, and
huh.
it makes me wonder if there's going to be any significance to their relationship down the road.
Oh
Um,
boy.
it's kind of interesting. I just thought it felt like a moment to me. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, it does seem like Nick and some of the other beauties want to go with the brawn. So it
Yeah.
wouldn't surprise me if Nick and Scott, come the merge, end up working together at least temporarily next week or the
Uh,
week after if
yeah,
they're still there.
absolutely. I could totally see that.
But not if Michelle has anything to say about it.
Mhm. Yeah, she doesn't want Nick to be in control, or what is going on there?
She doesn't want to work with Braun. She wants to work with the brains and
Uh,
Debbie.
Just because she thinks Debbie is being completely honest when she says
Yeah.
she's interested in working with her.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what that maybe now is a good time to talk about that whole argument with
Mhm.
I don't know, you can't really call it an argument really, but
No,
the
it was one of those situations where
conversation.
where she went to Nick with something she was really excited about, and she expected him to be excited about it as
Mhm.
well,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
But you know what that's like when you're like you think you have some awesome news and you're like, "Oh man, guess what?" And like the person you tell like doesn't care or like shoots you down. That
Yeah.
sucks and it does make you mad and you can react very poorly. And I think maybe that confessional we got was like a reaction to it without her maybe absorbing exactly. But he told her what he told her in a very condescending way, and he shouldn't have done that. But I think that's just his way. But anyway, what he was telling her might not have been completely wrong. I don't know. What do you think?
Exactly. That comes back to what we were talking about earlier with Debbie and Nick. I did kind of have this point in the episode in the back of my mind when I was talking about that, because what Nick is saying to me is more close to reality than what she cares to believe. And yeah,
Michelle or Debbie?
maybe it was a little, what's that?
Michelle or Debbie?
I'm saying when we were talking about Nick and Debbie earlier,
Uh-huh.
I had the conversation between Michelle and Nick in the back of my mind when we were talking about that.
Uh-huh.
As you said, as you noticed,
Right.
that basically Nick knows what he's talking about. What he's saying to Michelle is closer to reality
Mhm.
than she cares to believe.
Right.
It comes off a little condescending, but I think he's right. And maybe there's a better way to say it to her. I don't know, but it
Well, there
needs to
probably
be.
is. But anything that comes out of Nick's mouth, I don't think is the right way to say. I
Yeah.
mean, it just it's gonna sound douchey when it's coming from him.
Yeah. He's just
But
got that way about him. He can't help it.
yeah,
That's just how
that way of speaking.
it
But
just
yeah,
comes across that way.
I don't think he was wrong because there was a secret scene with Debbie where she basically was saying that Michelle was on the chopping block. So she was just being nice to her.
Yeah.
She
So
didn't actually want to work with her.
Nick was totally right. She should probably listen to him.
Well, if he had a different approach, maybe she would. But at the same time, it would be kind of cool somewhere down the road to see Michelle like backstab Nick. Um, but whether or not she has that in her, we'll see.
Yeah.
Or whether or not that's a good move, even. We'll see how something like that presents itself. If it's just to do it out of spite, to prove that she doesn't need him to carry her, then it's dumb. But if she does it for a really good game move reason, then props to her.
I don't need to be carried, bruh.
I think she says bro, to be fair. She goes bro. She
Oh
doesn't
yeah,
say bruh.
bro. I don't need to be
Yes,
carried, bro.
bro.
Yeah. That would be one of the funny lines of the episode, I thought. I thought her bro, she had a couple lines where she's like, bro. And it was just like just such a natural part of her dialect. It was just like, it was just right there. Bro.
It's just you don't just end a sentence without saying bro.
I know.
I mean,
I can
just
relate.
wait for
I
it.
use that word probably too much, but It's fun. It's a fun word to say. It's fun to call people bro. I like it.
It's fun to do it condescendingly, and that seems to be how
Not
it's done.
condescending, but like,
Sassily, like
yeah,
to
like,
sass someone with it.
yeah, I like to use it ironically, I think is what I like. It's like, I'm not really, I don't
Not you
really
really your
think
bro.
you're not really my bro. I just think it's funny to say that,
Or like Rodney from season 30.
Yeah, for
Like
him it was
you
like
need
for real, right?
no, you need to relax, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, but it was for real when he's saying it, like he uses that on a day-to-day
Yeah, but
sentence.
he's sassing somebody with it. He's saying it to
Oh,
someone who's not
yeah.
his bro.
Okay.
He's like, you need to relax, bro.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, yeah. It's fun to
Yeah.
use it as a sass. As a
Yeah.
sass. Yeah.
Hmm.
But yeah, Michelle, I mean, part of the reason she was feeling this way is because she had such a rough time in the challenge, I guess. She kind of blamed herself because she couldn't get those buoys up, I guess.
Yeah,
Is
why did
that
they pick her for that part? I don't quite understand that.
That's a really good question. I don't know either, but she kind of sucked at it. Kind of blamed herself for the loss of the reward challenge.
Yeah.
She was feeling kind of down, and another really really funny part of the episode, Debbie's in the water,
She's gonna
and
drown herself.
Michelle just starts walking into the ocean with a distant look in her eyes, and Debbie's like, she might go drown herself, and then
No,
Sydney's like, damn, Debbie.
yeah, that was the best part. Damn, Debbie.
Yeah, that was
Can I
that.
just say how much I love Sydney? I mean, she's barely in this episode, but that one line and just how like enmeshed she is with everybody. I don't know. I see her doing good things.
Oh yeah, I mean, she's a likely candidate to win right now, I feel like, but
That
tough.
would be amazing.
Solid winner. I don't know. We'll see what
Solid
happens.
winner.
There's like 8 episodes left,
I
so
know. Isn't it crazy? Like you can see like maybe 8 out of the 11 people left winning. Can't you? I mean, there's maybe 2 or 3
sure.
people that I could not see winning, but other than
Sh-
that,
Sure. Okay. I gotta ask, who can you not see winning?
Joe.
Really?
Yeah, he
Why
doesn't
not?
do shit. I mean, I'm fine with him. He's likable, whatever. But excuse me.
Okay.
I can't see Joe winning.
I can see Joe winning.
Well,
He's probably the least likely, though. It's probably, yeah. Of
who?
everyone, he's the least likely. I could so maybe to me, I guess I could see anybody winning right now.
Geez, yeah, maybe I was gonna say Ty just because no one would take him, but I can see him winning if someone was dumb enough to take him.
You can still get there on your own accord. You can still win immunity at the end.
Yes, you can.
They could He could save his idol for the 5 spot. Um,
Hmm.
he could win the final immunity, and he's in. That's all it takes.
Yeah, maybe I can see anyone winning. I really can't see Joe winning, but I can pretty much see anyone else winning.
Yeah,
Wow,
that and
that's crazy.
that's great. I can't remember there being a season like that where there wasn't like one person that you'd be like, man, no way they're winning.
Yeah, it's cool. This season's
Yeah.
been really good. I like this. It's very like, it's not just like one, what am I trying to say? Like you get a feeling with a lot of seasons, like you just know how this is gonna go. Like there's only 2 like feelings in this season, whereas the Kaoh Rong is like there's so many little individual pockets and pairs that could team up and groups that could team up. And at this point, it's very exciting to see that the merge is coming up because I don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, no, I'm really enjoying it. I hope it continues to go to be this good. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, something terrible could happen easily and just
What about
bring it
Aubrey?
down.
You think Aubrey could win this thing?
Yeah, I think Aubrey needs to be a little more committed to her decisions, though. Like, you know, I don't like how when Peter was throwing Joe's name out, oh, we don't need to get rid of him. But when it was her name, oh shit, we need to get rid of Peter. I mean, I understand that hearing your name probably strikes a fear into you that you don't feel for someone else, but still, she should have been more like friendly when Scott and Ty and those guys were talking to her about the possibility of getting Peter out, instead of just being like kind of closed off and, oh yeah, okay, yeah, thanks for letting me know. Yeah, that wasn't. I don't feel like that was great.
Yeah, I like. Here's another funny line. I'm just gonna keep feeding these to you.
Okay.
Joe's like trying to think of like he's and she's like dope. He and Liz were meant to be, she says.
Yeah, that's true.
So
She
I guess
obviously was no Liz.
yeah, they didn't think too highly of Peter and Liz. So I
No.
thought that was pretty damn funny as
Can we
well.
just can we just talk about, I mean, Peter was douchey. Let's not forget that. But
Mhm.
what an awful, awful Survivor player. Like, he sucked a
He's
lot.
not very good. Sorry.
Not
And yeah,
good at all.
I suppose I should take this opportunity to rub it in your face that your MVPs or your picks, your winner
They're
picks
gone. Free
they're both gone.
merge.
I'm the only one with one left.
Yeah.
That's sad. Out of four people we picked, there's only one left before the
We
merge.
sure know how to pick them.
Yeah.
But,
last season, Terry Dietz and Monica.
oh my God. That was even worse. I think that might have been worse than this season.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe. It's pretty
Although
bad.
we each only picked one last time.
Oh yeah. If I had to pick one, I would have picked Neal. Though I can say that in all honesty, I can say that was my one pick. And
I know.
Yeah, but I still don't. He'd be low on my list of people likely to win this season at this point in the game. But I do have to say, man, like Neal is having an amazing Survivor experience. He's like just always on top, like just always winning. I think, has he lost a challenge yet? Yeah, he has to have lost.
Well, yeah, they went to tribal council where
that might be the only one he's lost, I think. I mean, every tribe he's on is winning all these challenges.
Same with Nick and Michelle.
Yeah,
and
true.
Debbie.
But yeah, I'm just feeling like good for Nick, like, or Neal, watching him, like, he always like powerfully hugs people at the end, like, just like, he seems like he's feeling strong out there. And for a guy like in his position, coming from a cubicle, white collar background, I bet he's just like loving it right now.
Yeah, if you watch his, like, they give him a lot of secret scenes, but they don't highlight him a lot in the actual show.
Right.
And he talks about just how, like, I think he talked about how it was hard the first couple days, but since then he's just been like reveling in the experience and just enjoying like every single part of it, even the hard parts, like getting food for everybody. And I know that he's just like, he's doing it how you should do it. Like, he's playing a good game, first of all. But second of all, he's just absorbing the experience, but also not letting it overwhelm him in a way that I think like Aubrey is kind of letting it overwhelm her a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Like when they show her face at tribal council, she looks so sad. She's always just like.
Yeah, I mean, she's definitely letting
Survivor.
She's letting the game play her, and
yeah,
and it's really easy to let that happen. I mean, because it's a vicious cycle, kind of spiral. You spiral, and once you let yourself start thinking that way, you just can't get out of it. And yeah, Neal is doing a good job of stepping back and being like, you know what, I'm on Survivor. Like, I am going to enjoy this. And those are the people that they usually do pretty well. They might not win, but they'll have a good run. And it's just gonna you can't lose. I mean, it's awesome. I
am a bit concerned for now that you're all super pumped up for Neal. I'm having a little bit of concern for him going into the merge.
I really don't think he stands much of a chance of going very far into the post-merge game. Like, to be honest, I just like, I'm happy for his experience he's having out there.
Wow, you really care about Neal and his well-being, don't you?
He's my pick, my winner pick. I pay special attention to those guys.
Okay, I didn't pay special attention to Peter. He was terrible, and I'm sorry I picked him. But anyway, I feel like I don't think Neal's going to be a target because you have so many strong dudes going into this merge.
But it's not about which individual dude. It's about which dude in this alliance is the target. He's the biggest target in the Brains lines, and the Brains lines is the one that's going to be they're going down. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know how you feel about it. The consensus from what I've heard seems to be that it's going to be Beauty and Braun teaming up, and I tend to be in the same boat. It
Yeah,
seems
but
to me. Go ahead. Go
no,
ahead.
I mean that's kind of what the previews show, but the preview likes to throw you off. So don't you feel like it's not going to be that cut and dry? It's not going to be that simple.
Yeah, yeah. I hope not, because I like to be surprised more than anything. I like to be surprised. I like to be right a lot
I know
too,
that.
but I really like to be surprised with Survivor. I hope it's not that predictable.
Well,
What else can you see happening?
I can see because do you remember last season? Excuse me. Do you remember last season, the episode before Monica got picked off? They set it up. You know what I mean? They set up a little dissension between Monica and Spencer or someone.
The
Maybe not
episode
Spencer.
before, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I don't even remember. But
sure.
anyway, I felt like that's what they were doing with Nick and Michelle in this episode. Because I
Oh,
feel like Michelle might next week or sometime be like, look, I'm not going to go along with exactly what you tell me to do. And Michelle might be a swing vote of some, or a blindside waiting
yeah,
in the wings. I don't know.
yeah.
It's
Like,
just a
oh,
feeling I got.
Michelle's with us. She'll do what I tell her.
Yeah,
When in actuality, she's like, "No, I'm not doing what Nick tells me to do. Like, I'm gonna do
bro,
I do what I want, bro."
bro.
Um, so yeah, I think that's a really, really good observation there, Katie. I think you could definitely see something like that happening, but where does that put things numbers wise? Like if you do have Nick aligning with Braun, and let's say Braun, has Ty and Julia in their corner because Scott, obviously Scott and Ty are probably working together now.
Yeah,
Julia will go with Scott because I mean they kind of became a threesome in that tribe swap. So
yeah.
you got what, 6 versus 5? I think they still have the numbers. If brains
No,
and
no.
right?
You've got 7 and 4.
Oh, really? So yeah,
Yeah.
they're even more screwed. Yeah.
And I think that big of a gap is just going to stand out to maybe someone like Michelle, and she might be like, I don't know, or might end
Well,
up
that's what I'm
biting
saying.
her in the ass, and she might get voted out.
If Michelle flips though, like if Michelle wants to go with the brains, isn't it just 4 brains plus Michelle makes 5 and then 6 on the other side? They're still outnumbered.
But don't you think there's someone else they could get?
Who? Julia? That'd be the only other. So that's the only question. Like, will Julia? To me, that's the only question. Will Julia stick with the bronze with Scott and Ty, or will Julia go with Michelle and the
I think
brains?
Julia stuck with Scott and Ty to get through that week, and she did a good job of making her points about why, they should get rid of Peter, even though it was kind of a fluke thing that she ended up being saved. Excuse me.
That's okay.
You keep
No
talking.
worries.
I have to cough.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I could see that because that trio, the Anna, Michelle, and Julia trio is pretty strong. I mean, very, very strong to the point where we thought, I mean, that thing's going the distance. But with that, tribe swap and Anna getting voted out kind of messed up their plans. However, I do think Julia and Michelle probably are still tight and still want to work together. So
I think they're going to come back together because I feel like Michelle feels like an outcast where she is, and
yep.
Julia probably feels a little bit tighter with her group.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel that she and Michelle are just going to go right back together, and they're
Right.
going to be a tight duo. Yeah,
So
and I hope.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm wondering if they can get some other girls together, like Sydney. Maybe they can bring Sydney over. Aubrey. Just a theory.
Okay, so you're thinking a girls' alliance, not this girl power crap again.
Oh, come on. We haven't seen it in a long time.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, like when last time they talk every season it comes up. Like, I want to see a girl win. Let's get the girls together, girls all the way, and they never actually stick together. Never really happens. So, I mean, who else could do it? I mean, friggin'. I guess you got Debbie talking about a girls' alliance, but we don't know for sure if she's being honest about it, like, or if she's just saying that to like rally the troops or whatever. But so there is a possibility you could have Debbie being up for the girls thing just because she's been saying it. If that was the truth, I don't know. Yeah, what do you think? Do you think there's a girls thing that could happen?
Well, I think, excuse me, they keep putting emphasis on Debbie saying, "I want a girl to win or a woman to win." She said it twice now, so that might be foreshadowing. And with Michelle being like, "I don't need you to carry me, bro," I feel like they're setting it up for a female winner.
Right.
Whether or not that springs from an all-girls alliance, I don't know. But a lot has also been made of the fact that Probst did not say much about this. He didn't hype this season that much.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of people say that Probst is a little bit, he likes strong dude winners.
He likes alpha males.
Yeah, so if this
pretty
season ends up, yeah, it is. If this season ends up being dominated by women, that could explain why he wasn't super excited about it. But I would be fine with it as long as it doesn't end up being like super boring. If it's like, fans versus favorites where it was like entertaining too, I mean, I'd be okay with it. So it depends on how it shakes out, but I'd be fine with something like that happening.
Yeah, me too. Obviously I'm all about Neal winning, so
yeah.
Anything that results in the brains getting the upper hand in the next in the merge situation, I'm down with. But that's just assuming that the tribes, the brains, bronze, and beauty stay together. There's no guarantee that that's how it's going to work. I mean, there could just be, we could end up with voting units, like that could happen. So
I don't know. That's not a thing. That's not really a thing, is it?
Voting blocks then.
Fine. If you say so.
All right. So I could definitely see the brains chance here if the tribe lines hold tight, hold strong. I could see Michelle, Julia going against Nick and going to the brains. That could definitely happen.
Yeah. I don't know. It's very interesting. I'm not sure. I have no idea what's going to happen.
Right. Yeah. So let's talk about Peter a little bit. Let's talk about, why was he so bad?
I don't know. It's really weird. Like I read a couple of his exit interviews. I didn't actually listen to any of them. But do you ever get the feeling like someone's obviously very intelligent because of their profession? They're a freaking scientist or they're a doctor, whatever. But they're not all that smart.
Yeah, I'm one of those people.
No, right. You're not a scientist or a doctor.
No, I do have a high IQ, but people like think I'm dumb sometimes because I could be.
That's different. That's different.
Okay.
Like
I thought you were thinking like the ditzy intelligent person. Okay.
No. Like people can think that, like, sometimes I understand why people would think I'm dumb because sometimes, if they don't know me, I'll say stupid things, whatever.
Yeah, me too.
Underneath it all, I'm not dumb. Peter, I think, is the opposite. Like, he's obviously intelligent as far as, fixing people and bodies and but I don't think he's all that like people smart or
bright,
socially smart.
Yeah.
Bright. I don't know. He's just, I feel like that happens a lot. People, all of their intelligence is invested in one area. They have none left for anything else.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I just think Peter is not a natural liar, and he was trying to play a scheming game. In fact, another hilarious line in the episode, it's like a little soundbite of Peter going, "I'm scheming." he says it in this funny little voice, and he literally says, "I'm scheming," like present tense. "I'm scheming," he says. that one really cracked me up. I enjoyed that very much.
I mean, he just he didn't even have a solid plan yet, and he was blabbing it to whoever would listen, and then he was shocked when it got back to them, and it's like,
Yeah.
you don't know what you're doing. Just stop.
Yeah, he just isn't a natural at this game. That's pretty much all there is to it.
If he would have just shut his damn mouth, he probably would have been okay for at least another week or 3 days.
Yeah. That Joe confrontation was so he just like he handled that just totally wrong. I mean, the guy's asking you to give you a yes or no answer and you start like saying anything but yes or no. I mean, all you got to do is just look at the guy and say no. That's it.
I don't think Joe handled that well either, though.
No, but he knew Peter was lying because he's right. You don't have to be an FBI agent to go up to a person and accuse them of something. And if they fidget, if they dodge the question, it's true or they're lying or whatever. So, I mean, it worked, but how does Peter not realize that that's what an FBI? I mean, to me, he did look terrified. He looked like he was really scared. I think he was intimidated by the FBI thing. He's like, this guy has skills that are beyond what I can understand. So I'm scared that he's confronting me right now. When really it's just that simple. If you look him in the eye and say no, he'll probably walk away and be cool with it. But if you start dancing around, yeah, he knows.
You have to have a little bit of sociopathic tendencies to be really good Survivor player.
Yes.
And Peter doesn't have that, which is not a bad thing in life. But yeah.
He seems like a pretty well-meaning, innocent,
but
normal
douchey
guy.
individual.
Yeah, but he doesn't know. He doesn't know. You know, he doesn't know any better.
I mean, you meet a lot of douchebags who are good underneath it all. They're just douchey on the surface, and
it's all a cover for insecurity.
Sure. Yeah.
Yep. That's my read on Peter. I don't know. I could be wrong.
I think it's accurate. I think you're right.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to mention about the immunity challenge and kind of the reward challenge too. I just thought of it more after the immunity challenge was, don't you think both these challenges were sort of geared towards Scott? Like they do one challenge that's shooting baskets, and then the immunity challenge involves lots of things that involve height advantages. Like you have to reach this like really high ledge to climb over the net and stuff. And then you have to stack a really tall tower. Is that not also geared towards Scott?
Maybe they wanted to make Scott look bad.
I thought maybe they were hoping that Scott's tribe would win, so you'd have more of like an even. But
they also knew they had tall people on both tribes. I mean, no one's as tall as Scott, obviously.
He's about 10 inches taller than everyone else.
Yeah, but Scott had Ty on his shoulders, who's about 10 inches shorter than everyone else. So I mean,
true. How did Ty get up there? How did he scramble up? Oh yeah, he climbs trees.
Climbed him like a tree.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I just thought that was kind of interesting. 2 Scott-based challenges. I don't know if there was any production intention there, but I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, it's funny. I like Scott now, and I'm worried about him getting back together with Jason because I feel like the douchey Scott might come back out again. I hope not.
Well, also you should be worried because I think Jason would screw over Scott in a second, Like,
I know he would.
Yeah.
Screw over everyone. And to be fair, you should.
Yeah. That's Survivor. I mean, come on. You
should do it just to do it. You should do it if it is your best option for getting you furthest in the game.
Right. Agreed. So yeah, Aubrey, let's talk about the vote now and get into tribal council, kind of the pre-tribal council stuff and the vote. Aubrey kind of becomes like sort of the one they're going to try to get over, because otherwise they're pretty much planning going three against that. Pretty much how it works out.
No, that wasn't it. The plan was to vote out Julia. Like Scott and Ty came around and they were like, well, we don't want to take a risk, so let's just get out Julia. Isn't that what the plan was? At least as far as the edit showed us going into tribal, what their plan was? to vote out Julia?
Yeah, I guess because I'm trying to think how this affects. What if they do go three versus three? Then it's a revote and somebody has to switch. Otherwise, the rest of them draw rocks, right?
Yeah.
Is that how that works?
Yeah.
Okay. So in that case, I can see why they were starting to swing to, hey, let's just vote Julia, play it safe. But at the same time, don't you think it was always in the back of their minds we could force this to a 3-3 vote, a tie, and we're gonna get the upper hand here because this is basically a game of chicken. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's no way, if it's us versus them, they will waver way before we will. And that's ultimately what ended up happening, you know?
Yeah, do you think it was intentional for Scott and Ty to wait until the moment in tribal council to like start freaking them out and be like, yeah, we're going to change the vote? Like, was that his intention, or was that a spur of the moment thing?
I think it was before they got to tribal council. I don't know if it was like right before they got there or how long it was part of their plan. But I think Scott, sort of masterminded that whole situation. I think he planned on doing the whole let's mix it up, let's scare these people.
Yeah.
And we're gonna strong arm them into switching their vote, and that's exactly what they did, and it worked. It was actually pretty brilliant if you think about it.
It did work.
Yeah, because there is something to be said about the things you can do at tribal council to like scare people,
Yeah, we don't see it a lot though. I mean,
it's so risky. It's a bold move. I mean, it could really blow up in your face, but if you do it right, you can get people to do whatever you want because you just scare them shitless,
Yeah, and the thing is, Scott and Ty are like the only two people that were not really in any danger in that vote. So they probably felt the safest being like, yeah, just we're going to make him do what we want him to do. Because Aubrey had a vote, and apparently Scott was initially telling Peter to vote out Joe.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yep.
So they were the only two that were not in danger. Yeah.
So it's easy for them to kind of try to shake things up and make things go their way.
Right.
They don't really have anything to lose.
No.
So ultimately, Aubrey ends up crossing out her vote for Julia and voting for Peter. And
she voted for Pete.
She put Pete.
Pete.
Nice. And so why did Aubrey change your vote? If you could explain it clearly to me. I don't know if you can.
I mean, I'm not Aubrey. I couldn't say, but I feel like she could foresee what was happening. Like it was going to come down to 3-3, and then someone would have to change their vote anyway. And she felt that Peter was a wild card anyway, and she'd rather get rid of him, than get rid of Julia and maybe a group that she could potentially work with Julia and Scott and Ty, because she probably saw the merge coming, and maybe it's better to try to build a relationship with them instead of, stick with Peter, who's already like tried to get her out and is a wild card. But it's just it's a decision she probably should have come to sooner, because I don't know how effective that decision is actually going to be with the people like Scott and Ty and Julia.
Yeah, well, we know she was already thinking about voting out Peter. She already had it on her mind. And then when you throw that into the fact that you're in a game of chicken, where basically you're gonna stare each other down, and that's what going to rocks basically is like, who's gonna flinch, like are we gonna, all it takes is one person, which side's gonna switch, or are we both gonna take the gamble and draw rocks? And most people won't do that. So yeah, it's kind of interesting how that vote turned out, but it makes sense that Aubrey was the one to switch it up. And I don't know if it was the right thing to do or not. Peter definitely was a wild card, and he probably would have done his own thing and been trouble for them. But it's tough to say because it started to look like maybe he might be a loyal soldier as well. So I don't know.
Well, yeah, Joe scared him straight. And so, like, they would have gone to the merge with more numbers. Now they're only going with 4, unless they do actually have something with Scott and Julia. But you can't all be together. I mean, there's going to be fractures, and that one isn't a very stable connection. So that one could easily fracture apart because it's a very tenuous connection anyway. But don't you think that when Aubrey was crossing out Pete, like, obviously there's extra pieces of parchment. Couldn't she have just asked for another piece of parchment?
Is there extra pieces of parchment? I didn't know
Well,
that.
everybody writes on a different piece, right?
Yeah, but are there enough for more than one? Is there more than
I'm
one?
sure they have extra ones around.
I don't know. Maybe not.
I feel like the producers probably told, like, she asked, and the producers are probably like, no, just put one line through it because they wanted, because that was the last vote, and they wanted you to be able to see it was crossed out, like
Yeah.
she changed her mind.
Well,
Like,
it was very effective. I thought it was great.
it was. So I feel like that was a production call. Like, no, just cross it out.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I think that pretty much covers it for me. Anything else you want to touch on?
No, I mean, I guess we can get into predictions for next week.
Predictions for next week on TV is a Real Mom. Catie.
Yeah. The merge.
What's going on next week?
The merge.
That's
merge.
It? That's boring.
No, actually, it looks like there's going to be another medical situation next week.
Are you kidding me? I didn't know that. I was joking.
No, there is. Like, it appears that, but I don't know if it's medical because, and they've even got a new preview up that shows this. But
Ooh.
It's after the challenge. They're not showing who won or anything. They're all just sitting around. And then Probst and some doctor, it's not Dr. Joe, it's some other guy, comes up on a boat, and Jeff is like, oh, and the game has just changed again. But he's like kind of smiling, so like he wouldn't be smiling if it was like a really bad medical thing. And you see everybody, like I've seen press photos where you can see everyone's accounted for. So I don't understand what's happening.
At the merge?
No, after the first individual immunity challenge.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But everyone seems to be okay.
It seems like it. They all seem like they're sitting around having a good time, and all of a sudden Jeff comes. Like, they seem surprised to see him, which is what makes me think it's not like someone in dire medical need or something. I don't know.
Do you think it's like maybe Jeff Probst halfway through the season decides to retire from Survivor and they bring in a new host? And
oh my God.
And yeah, that's it for Jeff. He's like, and the game has changed yet again. I am no longer the host.
Maybe he had a medical situation and he had to get flown out somewhere.
Could be. I mean,
he's walking and smiling and he looks like smug Jeff Probst. So I don't think that's it.
That's unlikely then, yes. Well, it was very unlikely to begin with, but
pretty unprecedented, but
yeah.
So was 3 people going down in that one challenge.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for the merge. I mean, you got 2 tribes of 4 and 1 tribe of 3. It's really evenly matched. And a lot of the best characters are still in. I mean, I can't think of really pretty much everybody I wanted to see in it at this point is still in it. So that's pretty cool. Right?
Yeah, we've got a really good mix going into the merge. And that's why I'm so afraid of this medevac, like, cloud looming over it, because it's so good right now, and if the medevac thing just derails it, it's gonna suck.
Yeah, and yeah, it's tough to say. Is it underhyped because it's not a great ending to the season, or is it underhyped just because they knew how great it was and they didn't want people to see it coming? Sort of.
It
could go either way. Who knows?
I hope that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Because so far it's been a really good season. I mean, I feel like every episode has been strong. I've really enjoyed every single one of them.
Yeah, even at this point last season, there had been like at least one episode where we were kind of like,
Yeah, we're like, obvious vote, predictable.
yeah,
Nothing exciting. Nobody did anything fun or funny or yeah.
yeah.
Looking back
So,
on Second Chance, I'm like not as keen on that season looking back on it now.
I agree. I feel like there was too much awareness of it, too much expectation, too much importance placed upon it. Whereas you have a season like this where no one knows anything about it, no one gives a crap about any of these people, and all of a sudden you're just kind of pleasantly surprised by how good it is.
Yeah, no,
So
that's
I
fantastic.
kind of, to be honest with you, I prefer the feelings that go along with this season to the ones from last season. Like I love no expectations and just being surprised by people. Like they can make such idiotic blunders, first time players, or they can just wow you with their strategy or their confessionals. So I feel like given the choice between the two, I think I might take a Kaoh Rong over a second chance, but it's probably an unpopular opinion.
Yeah, it's tough to say because when I first started watching Survivor a few years back, and I knew nothing about who won any of these seasons, so it was all new to me, and I just went through and watched every season. And before I knew that there was such a thing as returning players, because I actually, believe it or not, I didn't know. Even though the first season I saw was South Pacific with returning players, Coach and Ozzy. I had no idea they were returning players. If they ever mentioned it during that season, which they probably did, I didn't really notice. So I didn't know returning players was a thing.
Until
Until I got to season 8 watching these seasons. I was kind of in a vacuum watching these seasons, which was the best way to do it because that way I had no idea what was coming. It was like being able going through the same experience as Survivor Superfan who had watched it since the beginning. I got to do that in a really condensed, like nonstop, like like back-to-back episodes, back-to-back seasons. Like it was a lot of fun, and that's what got me so hooked on the show. But um yeah, before I knew that there was such a thing as returning players, I thought the idea of people coming back having a second chance, I didn't like it. I thought it wasn't fair because I was thinking about all the other people in the world that, would be probably be awesome to see on Survivor, and their chance is being taken away by somebody who already had a chance to play. And I thought it was really, really stupid and I didn't like it. So but my opinion changed after I saw some of the how good those seasons could be, like because you do start to see, man, when a person comes back and plays the second time, there's like there's a level of just like expertise and experience that really comes through on screen.
Well, it's nice to
And
see them evolve and learn from their mistakes. Like when you compare Coach version 3.0 to Coach version 1.0, you definitely see a progression.
oh
Or like
yeah,
Jeremy the first time and Jeremy the second time. It's you see a person learn from their mistakes, and that's another part of the human story. And the reason people love Survivor so much is just because it depicts human nature at its extreme, and that's another part of it is how can you evolve to a point where you can improve yourself.
exactly, yeah. So yeah, I was my mind was changed by seeing some really good, returning
Well, you
player
have
seasons.
fans versus favorites and heroes versus villains. I mean, you can't really beat that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I can see the appeal of returning player seasons now, but yeah, there's something really awesome about fresh faces and just that inexperience too. Like seeing people figure it out can be a lot of fun as
Hmm.
well.
Yeah. Kaoh Rong. So, okay,
Go wrong.
who's your pick for merge boot? First merge
Um,
boot.
what was in the preview? Like, was it just like a merge thing or
Well, yeah, and then they show Jason talking about, or they say it's a battle for the beauties, like everybody's fighting for the beauties.
okay?
And
As
Jason's,
we expected.
yeah, and Jason's like, the beauties don't date the brainiacs, they go to prom with the jocks, so we're just shoving geeks into lockers right now.
That's fantastic.
Top notch Jason quote. Doesn't look like he's gonna stop being an ass anytime soon. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I love how people are surprised by this. Like you and I discussed, we knew that's who he was gonna be before the season even started. So
Yeah.
we shouldn't be surprised by anything he says. But something tells me that could be a red herring. You know, it's not gonna be that cut and dry if they're putting that shit in the preview. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. You could definitely go Brains. It could go either way. I mean, maybe Brains and Beauty will team up. I mean, we already talked about the scenarios.
Yeah.
But just based on my gut, I feel like Brains will be the target. You know, Bronze and Beauty will end up going after Brains. But the question is, and to me, Neal would be their target right away. Neal, I think people are aware of how likable Neal is at this point. They've seen how good he can be in challenges. He's obviously really good at puzzles too, not just physically good, but good at puzzles. So to me, Neal's the big threat here. But the question is, will he play as idol? We talked about this last week or the week before that we'd like to think that Neal is savvy enough and intelligent enough to sense that he is the target if that is the case. So I'm going to say that if Neal is the target next week, he plays as idol, and that would send home whoever the Brains want, which would probably be a Beauty that they find threatening. I don't know. Do they want to work with Braun at that point? I'm sorry. I'm kind of thinking this through, or I'm thinking out loud. But like, who would, if Neal wants to play his idol, believing that he's the vote, who would he put the target on? Who would he want to send home with his idol?
I feel like he might go for Jason.
Yeah, that might be a good move for him if he can figure it out. So, yeah, I think I'll take a bold move and say that Jason goes home next week.
What did you say?
Jason.
Oh, what?
Yeah, because
that is bold.
Because Neal's gonna play his idol and Jason's gonna go home.
Damn, Debbie.
That's it. Probably wrong. It's a bold. I know it's bold, but I'm just gonna. Well, it's just a prediction. Let's have some fun with it.
Yeah, at least you didn't pick Neal for once. I'm gonna just say Joe. I'm just gonna say that till he goes home.
Why would they vote Joe?
I'm just saying if there's a medical situation, it's probably gonna be Joe.
Oh, medical? Yeah. I could see that. That's a good guess.
Freaking block fell on his head last week, and the week or a couple weeks before, he had a nasty infection in his finger. I mean, one of these injuries is gonna get Joe.
That infection could be getting worse too. That could catch up with him.
I'm worried about Ty too. Ty has some shit going on here. And like at tribal council when he was showing his thighs, like, look how messed up. Like, I'm worried about Ty as well.
I didn't see that. I missed that.
At tribal council, he was showing, well, not this week, last week when he was showing Jeff.
Yeah, okay, that rings a bell. Yeah, he's like, look, Jeff, and he's like, I believe you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, couple of one bold prediction and one wrong prediction, but
they're probably both wrong, to be fair.
Let's be honest, they're both wrong. So
very wrong.
All right.
Have we been right once? I don't
know. This season, I don't think we've been right this season. Maybe I can't remember who I said last. I might have said Peter. One of us said
I might have said Peter.
Yeah, I think you said Peter and I said Joe.
Yeah.
And it ended up being
we were
Peter.
Both on the right track. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And the only reason I picked Joe, if I recall, was because I didn't want to pick the same as you. So
fair enough.
But I could have,
So you win.
I missed
so
that
you're right.
I missed that opportunity. I missed that chance to be right. But okay, yeah, that'll do it for this episode of TV's Our Real Mom. Thanks for tuning in, you guys, and we'll see you next time.
And sorry about the coughing. I'm very sick.
Yeah. And Katie, get well soon.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night.